I am just excellent. Awesome. So, welcome to everyone that's joined us. I'm so excited to have you here. We will get started. There's people just coming into the waiting rooms, and I will admit them as they come in. So, just forgive me if I'm having a bit of a break in conversation. Now, for those of you that have just joined, I'd love to know where you're joining in from. So, please type in the chat, would be wonderful. And I can keep an eye on the chats just to see what's coming through as well. If you have any questions, let me know throughout. But also there will be plenty of time to interact with each other, and I'll be asking you questions as well. Hello, gorgeous woman, you're up in Brisbane. So happy you could make it. And we've got Nat in Coffs Harbour, Michelle in New Zealand, and then there's a few names that I don't know. So I would love to hear where you're from, but I also understand that sometimes it's nice just to sit back and not be called upon. I know that Jean's in Coffs Harbour as well. So we will leave that there and we will get started. Let me remove the chat box. Excellent. So, good evening, everyone. Welcome. I want to, first of all, acknowledge you for showing up this evening. It's a lot of people say they will and then don't follow through, but you guys have, which is awesome. And you've been so good with the time as well. So I really appreciate that. And I just want to acknowledge you for being here and taking part in something that's going to support you and support your health and well-being, because that's what this class is all about, embracing uncertainty. So if you see me looking down, I'm either taking notes or just looking at my notes to make sure that I remember to share everything with you. I will keep checking the chat box to see if anyone has jumped in and asked anything, so I can make sure that you're all really well supported. If you haven't already, I would invite you to get a pen and paper because you might want to take notes. Grab some water, and then we can get started. So we've just got someone else coming in from the waiting room. So once you have grabbed your pen and paper and your water, settle in, and I just want you to get nice and comfortable in your chair. And I'd love for you to center yourself before we get started, so we can start from a nice open and receptive place. We're going to talk a little bit about a few different things this evening. So it's a beautiful intention to set, to be open and receptive to the information that's coming in, and just trust that you'll get what you need out of tonight's class. And bear with me if we're a little bit slow. I mentioned before that we have a little bit of dodgy internet connection. So I'm trying my best to work with that. Okay, awesome. So we are all ready. Now, I am just going to look at my notes. So tonight we have about an hour together, maybe 45 minutes to an hour. There's a lot that I want to cover. And when I was preparing for the webinar, there were a lot of different rabbit holes that I wanted to go down, but I am super conscious of your time. It is precious, as is your energy. So I have condensed it to make sure that you get like the maximum amount for your investment here, your time and your energy investment. So for those of you that don't know me, I will just introduce myself. So my name is Erin Beeman. You can see me in the little up here, and then you can see me there. So I am an empowerment coach, an empowerment and transformation coach. I'm also a yoga teacher, a master coach, NLP practitioner, and a timeline therapist. So what I'm passionate is about is seeing people thrive. And typically I work with women, but I work with men as well, to overcome the barriers that are holding them back from creating lives that they love. And that can be a few different things. But holistically, I work with clients and with people to heal the past, to transform the present, and to create a future that they love. It's something that, like I said, I'm super passionate about. Like I've had my own journey from the darkness into the light, if we want to condense it into a very short story. And I know both sides of the coin, and now it makes my heart sing to help people experience their potential and to really just live life that they love, to feel fulfilled, to have deeper relationships, to feel confident within themselves, to, yeah, just really step into the people that they are here to be, because we all deserve that. I think all the time we get one life, and we are here to make the best of it and enjoy the best of it. So anyway, that's pretty much what I do. I'm just going to admit Wahoo from the waiting room. So bear with me. Um, so, all right, we'll go to the next slide. This is all a little bit slow, like I said, because of the reception. So bear with me. So this is what we are going to explore today. I'll stop that. So the theme of embracing uncertainty. So when I was thinking about what I wanted to share, this is like the first webinar I've done in 2 years. So it's been a little while. And when I was thinking about what I wanted to share with you and what would support the most people, the strongest thing that dropped in was embracing uncertainty. Because we are living in times that are uncertain. The last 2 years have been crazy for a lot of us, all of us. More recently, we've got a war going on, we've got floods going on in Australia, and there's things, wars happening around the world, not just the one that we're all hearing about at the moment, obviously. But there's so much uncertainty. Things have changed within our own countries, within our own states. So I really just felt called to speak about this subject so that people that are struggling or might be suffering because of the unstableness, the unsettledness in the world, I really wanted to have this class tonight to sort of support people through it. So this is what we'll explore. So we're going to explore our relationship with the unknown, with uncertainty. We're going to explore uncertainty as a core human need. We're going to explore how to handle the uncertain times that we live in. And I'm going to give you practical mindset strategies and shifts to support you in transforming anxiety and worry into acceptance, peace, and even anticipation and excitement. Let me have a glass of water. Cool. So that's what we'll be exploring in our time together. So to explore uncertainty, we really need to know what uncertainty is. So I looked it up, obviously, to find the definition, the dictionary definition, and it came up with this. So uncertain means not able to be relied on, not known or not definite. So it's not knowing the outcome of something. And so being in uncertainty is that state of being not confident or unsure of something or sure of the outcome of a situation. So it's basically the unknown. There's nothing that is a given, and there's nothing that's certain. So, and you can see the quote down there by John Allen. It says, the only certainty is uncertainty, and knowing how to live with insecurity is the only security. And so I don't know if you want to take that in. Awesome. And we'll move to the next slide. Getting my head around Canva as well. It's not PowerPoint, so it's a little bit different. I don't know if you guys have had experiences with that. But what I want to talk about here is why it's so important and why we're doing this evening, why it's so important that you showed up to support yourself. Um, and so, a reflective question for you, you've got your pen and paper there if you feel like writing it down. I know that I like to take a lot of notes. You'll probably see me looking down a little bit. Um, what called you to jump on this class? What attracted you to being here this evening? Because obviously, like I mentioned, your time and your energy is precious and you've chosen to be here. So, what was it that spoke to you or that resonated with you? And I would love you guys to share. I know you're a little bit of a quiet bunch so far, but break out of that. Dive into the uncertainty. I'll just check the chat and see if anyone's talking. Not yet. Oh, we have one. Yay. Oh, just beautiful. So you came here to to learn about thriving in life and facing the challenges. Yeah, beautiful. I love that. It's so important to be able to not only just survive, but actually thrive in life. So thank you so much for sharing, gorgeous girl. So it's so important because we live in these uncertain times. In the last 2 years, I know in our country and I think worldwide, anxiety, depression, suicide, relationship breakdowns, unemployment have all intensified over the last 2 years. We've had lockdowns, we've had isolation, we've had families that haven't been able to see each other. We've had people that have been stuck and locked outside of the country. We've had people that have been locked inside the country. We've had, I live in Queensland, but the border to New South Wales is only half an hour down the road. And there were families that couldn't cross the border to see each other. It was crazy. So they were meeting at the border to see each other. So it's been full on. Yeah. How to be more comfortable when I'm not 100% sure or in control of where I'm going or what the future holds. Yeah, I really love that. That's so beautiful, Michelle. And that's definitely what we're going to dive into. And the other really important thing why we're here, the fourth point on there, you'll see the magic always happens outside of your comfort zone. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that too. So, Brene Brown, I'm sure you've all heard of her. If you haven't heard of her, look her up. She is amazing. One of her quotes is down there, and she says, "Our anxiety will increase in direct correlation to our ability to handle the uncertainty." And so, what that means is on a sliding scale, the less uncertainty we can handle, the higher our anxiety is going to be. The more uncertainty we can handle, the lower our anxiety is going to be. And so that's why you're all here today, is to increase your level and your capacity for uncertainty. I'm just going to see the uncertainty of employment and meeting financial. Yeah, perfect, Natalie. Thank you so much. Yeah, the uncertainty of whether you're going to have steady employment and in these uncertain times, definitely. And thinking about, yeah, how are you going to make ends meet and all of those things. So thank you so much for sharing. It's a really prevalent one for a lot of people. So I appreciate that. Um, let's go to the next one. Cool. So we've looked at what uncertainty is and we've looked at why it's so important. What I want to look at now is what happens if we do, what happens if we don't. So with your pen and paper, I would love for you to answer these questions. So they're reflective questions. It's about the inner work, and that's what we do in empowerment coaching and life coaching, any sort of coaching. We're looking at the inner self and how we can create an outer world that's a mirror from our inner world. So doing the inner work is so important, and that's why we're here as well. So the first point there is like, what happens if you don't learn how to live with and even embrace uncertainty? So just having a little reflect on that question. What happens if you don't learn how to handle uncertainty? Awesome. Yeah, I will be reactive to everything that happens in life. Yeah, definitely. And what does that look like? If you're reactive to everything in life, what does that look like? Like, what emotions would be there? What would life look like? How unsteady would that be? What sort of fluctuations would there be if we just walk around reacting to everything? Thank you for sharing, Giselle. Yeah, awesome. And so, like it said there, what does that life look like for you? If you don't come to terms with uncertainty and even embrace it, what does it look like for you? And Giselle shared, so thank you for that. And you guys can just write it down in your journal or on your pen and paper. And then I want you to flip that around and I want you to ask yourself, what happens if you do embrace uncertainty? What does that look like? What happens if you really embrace the unknown? Nice. I like that. Embracing uncertainty keeps me in the present. Yeah, awesome. Thank you for sharing. And so you've looked at what life looks like if you don't learn to embrace uncertainty, and you've looked at what life looks like if you do. Now, I want you to check in with yourself and be really honest. On a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at the moment? So let's say one is, uh, let's say let's start with 10. So 10 is like running towards uncertainty and embracing uncertainty. And we'll say one is like can't handle it, like has to control everything, has to know the outcome of everything. So on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you think you are? Type it in the chat if you're brave. There is no judgment here. It's a safe space. 5 to 6. Yeah, nice. I love it. I love it. 3 to 4. Yeah, awesome. 3 to 4, 5 to 6. Yeah. Perfect. This is really important to know because we don't know where we're going if we don't know where we are already. Hey, Jean, nice to see you, lovely. 5, perfect. Yeah, so about halfway with uncertainty. Thanks so much for sharing, everyone. And so, where would you like it to be? So, if 1 is like running away from the unknown and the uncertainty, and 10 is diving in and just going for it, Giselle, you're a 10. You want to be a 10? Yeah, perfect. Love it. And so, what would happen if you had some strategies and mindset hacks to support you in handling and even getting excited about uncertainty? Basically, that's what we're going to do tonight. So, I hope you're excited about it. Excuse me. That would be helpful. Awesome. I'm glad you're in the right place then. Gonna have some water. Oh, I missed. Sorry, Michelle. Did I miss this chat box? The chat box is very fickle. It doesn't seem to like to come down. Feel like a 4. Bit pushed to a 6, yeah, which is outside my comfort zone. I love that. I'd like to feel more like an 8. I don't think I could make it all the way to 10. Agreed. Yeah. I don't think I could make it all the way to 10 as well. There would always be things that I'd be super hesitant about, I think. Love it. Love your honesty. All right. So let's talk a little bit about our relationship with uncertainty and why it's not always a positive one. So why we're not already at an 8 or a 10. So we are biologically designed to be negatively biased. And what that means is that we are designed to look for danger so that we can keep ourselves safe and we can ultimately survive. So it's a good thing, but sometimes it doesn't work in our favor anymore. Um, there's an interesting study where, because we are negatively biased, we have to have 3 great things to 1 bad thing. And so it's 3 positive experiences to every bad experience. And if you're in a relationship, you actually need 5 for every 1 bad experience. So Yeah, when someone else is involved, we need more. I forget who did that study, but if anyone wants it, let me know and I can find it for you. But we are negatively biased. So we are on the lookout for harm, we're on the lookout for risk, we're on the lookout for danger. And as it says there, this is fantastic and keeps us alive. But it also can mean these days that people are constantly anxious or stressed or overwhelmed. And they're constantly in that hypervigilant state. And that is really detrimental to the body. Um, as it says there, fight or flight, anxiety, and stress, they're meant to be acute. So they're meant to be in the moment to get us out of the moment. They're not meant to be chronic or long term. And when that does happen, that's when, yeah, we see chronic illness and chronic inflammation, which causes a load of other things, which is a whole other webinar, masterclass. But I think you guys get what I'm talking about. Um, and that last point is we all have a different capacity for uncertainty and risk taking. Now, interestingly enough, just random, just popped into my head, but masculine essence is typically more of a risk taker than the feminine energy and essence. So the feminine, I think because we are the caretakers, we are the mothers, we are a bit more wired towards needing safety, needing stability. Yeah, we need home, we need to feel safe because obviously we're bringing up children or looking after the household. Whereas the masculine, they're more of the risk takers. I guess they had to go out and hunt down our food, so they had to put themselves in danger. So you'll notice when you meet people and become friends with people, friends or family, you'll notice that everyone has a different level of propensity for risk taking. So yes, like, people that jump out of a plane, I'm like, there is no way I'd be doing that, but some people love it. So it's we're all wired a bit differently, but it's really helpful to know with that background information that yes, your body's doing what it's meant to be doing, your brain is doing what it's meant to be doing by looking out for danger and uncertainty. But when it starts holding us back, which we'll go into a little bit in a little bit, then we know that it's detrimental for us, as is staying in that stress response more than necessary, longer than necessary. So let's have a look at the next slide. I'm just checking in if anyone's leaving me any messages. Lots of you are very quiet, but that's all okay. I'm super happy that you're here. Awesome. So most of you would know of Tony Robbins, and you may or may not know of his 6 core needs, or our 6 core needs, according to him. So he says that to live a happy and fulfilled life, there are 6 core needs that need to be met. So the certainty, we need safety, we need stability, we need to know certain things. But hey, number 2 is uncertainty. So we also need to not know certain things. Then we've got significance, feeling significant, like we matter, love and connection. So those first 4, he describes them as the needs of the personality. And then the last 2 are the needs of the spirit. So growth and contribution. And if anyone wants to know more about the 6 core needs, or if anyone would love like a masterclass on those, just let me know. You can type in the chat, or you can let me know later. Because they're super interesting. And again, we're all different on the sliding scale for each one. Like for some people, like growth is their highest value. Like would be similar to mine, growth and love and connection. But for other people, it's contribution. So it's giving back. And for other people, it's significant. So feeling important, feeling powerful, feeling like they matter. Yeah, so I love the 6 core needs. They're awesome. And Tony Robbins has that quote down the bottom, and he says, similar to Brene, he says the quality of your life is directly related to the amount of uncertainty you can comfortably handle. Oh, Nat must have got kicked out. So I'm just letting Nat back in. Beautiful. So if anyone wants to take note of any of those, please do. And then we will see where we're at with awesome. So we know now our relationship to uncertainty. That's interesting. Got you. Okay. So we know what uncertainty is. We know our relationship to uncertainty. We know that we are wired to look out for risk and for danger and for harm. We know from Tony Robbins' six core needs that we actually need a bit of uncertainty in our life. And so now we're going to go into the strategies. Like, how do we cope with uncertainty? So this is where we get to the juicy bit. And I'm just going to have my notes here because I really don't want to forget anything. Um, Excellent. So these are some strategies to help you feel more confident in the midst of the unknown. So you'll see the quote down the bottom there, Tony Robbins again. He is one of my favorites. And he says, nothing in life has any meaning until the meaning you give it. And I just want you to stop and take that in for a minute. So nothing in life has any meaning until we give it meaning. And we get to choose what meaning we give it. So this is where we come into empowering ourselves and the empowerment space. So we choose what meaning we give anything. And you can have two people in exactly the same situation, in exactly at the same event, and both of them will take different things away from that event because they've both chosen to give it different meanings. One could be like, oh, it was far too late and far too loud, and I really didn't enjoy myself, and the food was awful. And then the other person might be like, the band was awesome, I stayed up really late, the drinks were great, I got to meet lots of people, and they were at the same event. So, but they gave the event different meaning. For one person, it was terrible, and for the other person, it was awesome. So, when we a really important uh, tool in giving things meaning is our language. And I was just trying to think of Brene Brown. She said something. I'm reading her book, Atlas of the Heart, and she said there's a quote in there, and she said, language is our portal to meaning. So we will give things meaning by choosing our language, by the language that we use. So let me know if that makes sense. Type it in the chat if you're typing in the chat. Um, so the language that we use is a portal to the meaning. So it will determine the meaning we give something. So the first strategy for change is to choose your language very carefully when you're talking about uncertainty and the unknown, because what you speak is what you will feel. So our thoughts create our reality, our language creates our reality, and our feelings create our reality. And all three of them are intertwined. So the language that you use will create a feeling, the feeling will create a thought, and then from then there will be behaviors and actions and choices and decisions that will determine your life. So I want you to look at the language for uncertainty. And Tony Robbins talks about this, and he said, uncertainty can also be novelty, it can be variety, it can be adventure, it can be surprise, it can be challenge. And something really interesting that just popped up when I was sharing that was I always thought that certainty must have been my core need. You'll have two that are higher than the other ones that we talked about. And I swear I always thought certainty was mine. And then when I did this little test with one of my coaches, it turned out that uncertainty was higher than certainty because I love adventure. I love traveling. I love putting myself in a situation where I don't know what the outcome is going to be. And I didn't know that I did that until I'd sort of started doing the inner work and figuring out what my drivers were, what my values were. So that's super exciting. And what I want to do with you this evening is do a little exercise. So the second point we've got there is expansion or contraction. Um, Now, I look at things in terms of energy, and I look at things in terms of from the frame of, is that expansive to me or is that contractive? So is that gonna make me grow and open and expand? Or is that gonna make me contract and get smaller and feel heavier? So the exercise that we're gonna do is I just want you to have your hands free and you can put them in your lap, um, and close down your eyes or just soften the gaze. And I'm going to trust that you're all doing it with me because obviously I can't see you. Let go of the breath that you're on and then take a big breath in and then just exhale. And I want you to focus on these words when I say them. I want you to notice where in the body you feel them and what they feel like. So, anxiety, concern, worry, mistrust, doubtfulness, confusion, uneasiness. And then I want you to take a big breath in. I want you to feel in the body where those emotions were or where those words were, where they sat and how they felt. And then you can shake it out a little bit. I can't see you, but you can see me. And then I want you to notice how these words sound and feel. So closing down the eyes, taking a big breath in. So adventure, novelty, variety, surprise, and curiosity. I want you to notice where in the body you feel them. And I want you to notice if they are expansive or contracted. We're talking about the same thing. We've got 6, 7, 8, 10 words there for the same thing, for uncertainty. But we get to choose our language. Do we want it to be a surprise? Do we want it to be an adventure? Do we want it to be novelty or variety? So that's a beautiful way of reframing and choosing our language. So notice yourself when you're thinking about uncertainty and just chuck one of those words in there and see how it feels. And then we move to the third step. So the third step is moving from what could go wrong to what could go right. So we are negatively biased, but that can be trained. That can be, we have a beautiful science that tells us that our brain can change, and it's called neuroplasticity. And all it takes is consistency and repetition. So even though something feels the way it feels now, or you think the way you think now, that can change. And that's super exciting. So we get to choose now what's functional for us and what helps us towards our goals. And we get to choose what's dysfunctional and leave that behind. So unresourceful or resourceful. So, in the face of uncertainty, we don't know what the outcome is. So, why would we automatically assume that it's going to be what goes wrong instead of what could go right? It could go either way. So, we get to just help and train and reframe how we look at uncertainty in that way as well. So, just another little framework with the expansion and contraction and choosing the language. Now, actually, Tony Robbins uses a metaphor about certainty, and he says, do you watch the same movie every Friday or Saturday night? And the answer is no. Like, you might watch a movie a few times if you love it and it's one of your favorites, but there is no way you're going to spend the rest of your life watching the same movie every weekend. And you know why that is? Because it would be freaking boring. You would know the outcome. There'd be no excitement, there'd be no anticipation, there'd be no like on the edge of your seat, what's going to happen. And that's a metaphor for life. If you knew everything, if you knew the outcome of everything, you would be freaking bored. And there would be no growth there. There is no growth staying in your comfort zone, and a comfort zone is the known. So, can you see where I'm going with this and why this is so important? Because there's so much waiting for you in the uncertainty, in the unknown. It's just we need to support ourselves to be okay stepping outside of the comfort zone. So the fourth point there, your self mastery question. So is this within my control or is this out of my control? Now, I mentioned at the start of the masterclass that I'm an NLP practitioner, and for those of you that are unfamiliar with it, it's neuro linguistic programming. So it's the language of the brain. And what we do when I work with clients is I don't give you the answers. The answers are all within you. I just guide you to find them. And you will learn how to think differently. You will learn how to frame things differently, and you'll learn how to see things differently with different filters. And that will give you a more fulfilling and uh, awesome way of life. Sorry, I just got stuck on my words then. 2 seconds. So when people work with a coach, when I work with people, it's usually because they need something to change. Something's not working for them. They're not getting the results that they want. They're not reaching their goals. They're not feeling good within themselves. And so what happens with the coaching journey using NLP and a bit of timeline therapy and some other tools and techniques is that you learn how to see things differently, how to perceive things differently, how to communicate differently, and communicate better with yourself, your self-talk, the language that you use, but also with others. So you have those deeper relationships and that more fulfilling experience of life. And why did I go off into that? Is this within my control or out of my control? And models of thinking, that's why I went into that. Because once we figure out how to think resourcefully, supportively, then anything that comes our way, we are prepared. We know how to see it, we know how to frame it and how to language it. So I hope that makes sense. I did go off on a little bit of a tangent there. No one's typing in any questions, so that's okay. But if you do have any, please do. And obviously, I'll ask all of you a few questions as we go along. Now, with the step 4, is this within my control? Is this out of my control? Now, I used to be a master warrior. I would look for what was going to go wrong. I was quite negatively biased. I was quite pessimistic actually, but I told people I was a realist. I'm not a pessimist, I'm a realist. And I would worry about things, and I would worry about things that were out of my control anyway. So it was crazy. And it wasn't until I started doing the coaching journey and the inner work, and I started working with people and training as a coach as well. I was like, that is such a waste of energy. It's out of my control anyway. So why am I thinking about it? So I told you about the Tony Robbins and the movie and watching the same movie. When we try and know the outcome of everything, we're almost trying to micromanage the universe. So when we ask ourselves, is this within our control or without or outside of our control? It's a very quick frame. It's a very quick yes or no answer as to whether or not you should be spending time and energy worrying about it. So I'm just making sure that I have covered everything that I wanted to. Beautiful. Trust and surrender. So when I was getting ready to prepare this masterclass, I put a few questions on social media about, how do you feel about uncertainty? And lots of people replied, and it was really awesome. And I loved this one that came through, trust and surrender. And that follows on really nicely from the fourth point, which was, is this within my control or outside of my control? Because if it's not within our control, then we just need to surrender and trust that the universe has a bigger plan, the universe or God or source or whatever it is that you believe in. we need to surrender and trust. So those two can be quite difficult for people that are not comfortable with uncertainty. Um, we can try and control everything and micromanage the universe and know the answers to everything, but at the end of the day, we're never going to be able to do that. So we need to learn how to trust and surrender. So trusting outside of ourselves, but also trusting within ourselves, trusting ourselves to be able to handle whatever comes our way. This is where we're going. Um, do you know, I want to talk a little bit about the comfort zone before we move on. And I want you to know that if you're there and you don't like stepping outside of it, that's okay. I was there for many, many years as well, and a good period of time, would not try anything new, would not try anything. And I was so depressed because I was like, why isn't life fulfilling for me? Why don't I know what I want to do? Why don't I know my purpose? And all these other people do, all my friends do. And, I didn't find my purpose until I started trying things. And I tried and I failed and I invested and I spent time and money and energy trying things. And some of them worked out and some of them didn't. But in the journey of that, I became someone that could handle setbacks, uncertainty. I could handle the what is, what if it does work, what if it doesn't. And this is what we're all moving towards, is knowing that I can trust and surrender and know that I'll be able to handle it. This is what I want for you. This is what I want for everyone, because life becomes so much richer when we let go and let the universe meet us halfway, co-creation. But again, that's a whole nother webinar. And the last one, create balance. Okay, so create balance. This is where we want to go. And that yin yang is actually my logo. I had a photo there and I was like, hang on a minute, we're talking about balance. We're talking about uncertainty, certainty. So I thought I'd leave my logo on there, which is the yin and the yang, the masculine and the feminine, the duality in all things, but the harmony in all things as well. So creating certainty. So when I said balance, just checking the time. So when I said balance, it's about creating certainty in your life to balance out the uncertainty. Now, we talked just then about what's within your control and what's out of your control. And so we can only handle a certain amount of chaos. Some of us can handle more than others before we need to have some structure and some stability and some certainty. So we need to let go of what's outside of our control, which is the world at large at the moment. But we can control certain things in our lives and we can create that stability that we're craving so that everything else doesn't throw us off guard like it used to. So how or what do you do in your life to create certainty? I'd love to hear from you guys. If you feel like sharing. And I've got some examples there. So you might do some of those or you might have your own. If you've got different ones, I'd love to know. I'm just trying to find the chat, see if anyone's talking. But so to look at certainty, you'll hear a lot about morning routines, evening routines. If you create something that is the same every day, you're creating certainty. So that helps to balance out the uncertainty. So any habits that you do consistently and repetitiously is going to create certainty for you. Your body will know that it's certain, that it's happening, and they don't need to, you don't need to think about that part of the day because it's already certain. Awesome, you guys are sharing. Planning your day, yeah. Amy, connect to my breath. Thanks, lovely. Awesome. Yeah, connecting to your breath is really beautiful. And planning a day. I know you're really good at that, Giselle. You've got an awesome way of knowing what you want to get done and getting it done. So structure to our days and our weeks. Food planning of food prep, is key to eating well and looking after yourself on a physical level or one of the physical levels. Regular exercise, yoga, or meditation. Surround yourself with consistent and stable people. So surround yourself with stable relationships. Um, the less chaos in your personal and private and individual world, then the more chaos you can be okay with out there externally. Journaling and cacao, yes, lovely. Love all of those. Thanks for sharing, girls. Um, Creating certainty, keep your word to yourself and to others. So if anyone wants to take a screenshot or write these down or just take it in and see if it resonates with you, but these are just ways to create certainty in your world. Keeping your word to yourself and others. So if we say we're going to do something and we don't do it, even if it's just to ourselves, we are becoming someone that we can't rely on. We're becoming someone that we can't trust. And that creates uncertainty within us. And if that's the case, then we're going to be less likely to be able to handle the uncertainty outside of us. So, with any of those things there, consistency creates certainty. So, consistency and repetition, consistency, yeah, and repetition. I have to confess, my 8-month-old was up like all night last night. So if I can't speak, that's what I'm going to blame it on. um, Now, this is why we are here. This is why we do the work. This is why I know a few of you in the group here. This is why we do the inner work and we go on that journey, because really the holy grail of coping with uncertainty is becoming so solid and certain within yourself that you know you can handle anything. And like it says there, and bounce back from anything thrown away. When you become so certain and solid in yourself, there's no room for anxiety, worry, or fear, because you've got this. You've got your own back. You are like, that's okay. Like that sucks. That fell apart, but hey, I'm good. Like I'm good to go. I will create that again, or I will try that again, or I will try something new. One of my beliefs that I worked on, that I have now because I chose it, is I will always find a way. There is always a way, and I will always find a way. So if there's something that I want, that's my belief, and I will make it happen. And this is how we become certain in ourselves. Um, Let me just catch up to where we are. Yeah. And I do say this a lot, and I see it all the time with my clients, and also with girlfriends and just people I connect with. Um, all of you here, you've already been through trauma, grief, loss, relationship breakdown, heartache. Um, for some of you, it could have been abuse. You've all already experienced awful, upsetting, painful, hurtful things, but you're still here. You're still here. You're still alive. You're still chasing your dreams. You're still doing the work. And you're here to not only just survive, but you're here to thrive. And I know that all of you have overcome big, big things in your past, and you are still here. And what that means is you have that strength already within you to be able to handle anything, because you already have. So I just want you to feel that in you. You've already been through a whole heap of stuff. Trying not to swear. Um, and you're still here and you're still amazing. So, yeah, I just want to drive that home. Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, big, big love heart. Um, I loved this quote from Eric Fromm. He says, "The quest for certainty blocks the search for meaning. Uncertainty is the very condition to impel man to unfold his powers." And so, what that means is, if we can go back there so we can see the quote, um, if you know the outcome to everything, what are you going to look for? like we mentioned earlier, there is no growth because you know the outcome to everything. So it blocks man's search for meaning. Sorry, I'm thinking of that Viktor Frankl book, but it blocks our search for meaning, because we already know the outcome. So what are we going to look for? I think that's really important to know because I know that a lot of you, I mean, the very fact that you're on this masterclass is that you're looking for ways to support yourself or enrich your life or just give you some tools and some strategies. So that means that one of your values is growth. Um, Maybe health, probably health and growth, because otherwise you wouldn't be here. So you are looking for something. You are looking for your superpowers and that strength within you. And if you didn't have uncertainty, you wouldn't be doing that. So, and that's what actually gives life meaning is finding that meaning, going on that journey. So we're going to go to the next slide. And if I can move my face, not enough. So some practical actions to create confidence and certainty within yourself. Now, it's a big journey creating confidence and certainty in yourself. We are all here. We have all experienced childhoods that might mean that we've turned into adults that aren't so certain and secure and confident in ourselves. And that sucks. But as adults, we have the choice now to become that woman, to become that man, to become that person that we want to be, that feels confident and certain within ourselves. We have a right to do that. We like I said at the start of the class, we get one life. We get to live our potential. We get to create the life that we want. We get to be the person that we want because it's a choice. It's a choice. And just because you might have been one way all of your life does not mean that you can't be a different way for your future if that will serve you better and be more fulfilling and resourceful and supportive. So you might want to take a screenshot of this, but these are some of the things that can help. Oh, and I'm going to be really conscious of the time. So creating certainty in yourself, take risks, calculated, of course, nothing that's going to cause bodily harm or death, but take risks. Do the thing that makes you nervous. So if jumping on a live or speaking up or showing your face on camera or investing in yourself, investing money in a course or working with someone, or I did it recently. It made me super nervous, but I knew that it was going to take me closer to my goals. So it was a no-brainer. Try something new. Invest the money into something that lights you up and supports you in becoming the person that you want to be in this life. Put yourself out there to find love. That is nerve-wracking. I've been there. Put yourself out there. Start a business, fail, then start another one. Study a course. If it's not the one, then go to another one. Like, taking these actions creates confidence in yourself and certainty that you can handle anything, even when it doesn't go the way that you would like it to go. But what if it does? So then it comes back to that thinking, what if it does go right? And what if it's amazing? So be vulnerable with your partner, survive divorce, abuse, grief, heartache. Invest in you becoming someone that you can rely on no matter how uncertain things are. Say yes and then figure out how. So these are all ways for you to become that woman or that man that can rely on themselves, that can trust themselves to be able to handle anything that comes their way. So the next one is just what we covered. So just to recap, so we covered what uncertainty is, what it is, and why we need it. We covered our relationship with uncertainty and how to reframe our relationship with it so that it becomes a healthy relationship and a supportive and functional relationship. How to reframe and overcome worry. Actually, there was a quote there that I missed from Seneca, and I found it was really important. And now I'm not going to be able to find it, am I? I'll come back to that one because I don't want to go over time. But it was about worry, and it was about if you worry about something that is a hypothetical and it hasn't happened yet, and it doesn't happen, you've caused all that worry within your body for no reason. And if it does happen, you know, you've caused all that worry and that stress twice. So it was about basically, you know, deal with things as they arise. Don't worry about them if they haven't happened yet, because they might not happen. And if they have, you can't do anything by worrying in the lead up to it anyway, right? So the the one down the bottom, the great quote, not the one that I totally got wrong. Um, so we also looked at how to create certainty in our lives so that we can balance out the uncertainty of what's within your control. And we looked at practical strategies for creating certainty within ourselves. And I love Brene Brown. And so one of her quotes is down here. If I can get it back just for a minute. So she says, true courage comes when you decide to take a risk without knowing the outcome. So she talks a lot about courage and vulnerability. And vulnerability, she says as well, is like putting yourself out there without knowing the outcome, without knowing that it's safe. And so it takes a lot of courage to be vulnerable. And it takes a lot of courage to take action on something that you're unsure of, or where you're unsure of the outcome. So I think we might be on the last one. Awesome. So we didn't do too badly with time, I think. You guys have been amazing. So I would love to know what you've loved. I'd love to know what you've learned. Reflective questions again, but I'd love it if you shared it in the chat. And I want you to let me know how you're feeling about uncertainty now that we've had this class, and where you are on a scale of 1 to 10. And I do apologize because, like I said, there was just so much you can dive deep into, but I really wanted to condense it for you and try and get it all out in an hour. So just reflect on those questions for a couple of minutes. And I want to find that quote because I feel bad now. Okay, I've got it. Are you ready? It's by Seneca, who I think was one of the Stoics, and says, a man who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than necessary. So when we suffer before it's necessary to suffer, we suffer more than we need to. That's sort of what I said, wasn't it? Oh, beautiful. Thanks. Oh, thanks, Nat. Yeah, mine was the longer version. Awesome, lovelies. So, how are you feeling? Where are you at with your scale on 1 to 10? Let me know. Give me some feedback. I know that some of you are a bit shy. You are most welcome to we can connect after this anyway. So, sure, your version was even better. Bless. Thank you. Awesome. And scale of 1 to 10, lovely one. Where are we at? Ah, thanks, Jean. You're at a 9. That's awesome. That's a great improvement. Michelle, you're at a 6 now. Awesome. Well, we're inching closer to that 8. That's awesome, Jean. I'm so stoked. Thank you so much for coming. You're embracing uncertainty, feeling adventurous and curious, and be surprised at the outcome. Yeah, love it. Oh, awesome, Nat. That's so good. 6. We're moving up there too. That's awesome. And 7. Beautiful. Awesome. So basically, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for being on the call. I didn't get to connect with all of you because obviously there's some quiet bystanders going on. But what I would love is to connect with you more. So what we can do is if you're feeling like there's more gaps about uncertainty, or you're wanting to just, if something popped up for you and you'd love to talk about it, please let me know. You can type it in the chat and I can contact you and just touch base. And we can have a chat about, you know, what you got out of Masterclass or what you'd like more of. Let me know. And that's what I mean, the options to explore more. So the options to connect after the class, because some of you I haven't connected with yet. So let me know in the chat if you'd love to do that. And otherwise, I will touch base with you all tomorrow anyway. I will send you through the recording if you'd like that. And I'm going to leave you with the quote below. And it says, outside your comfort zone is where the magic happens. It's where we grow. It's where we learn. And it's where we expand our horizons beyond our imagination. So when we have to know everything, having to control everything, we can only create what we can think in the unknown when we're not in control of anything and we don't have to think about it. That's when the magic actually happens. And how much time have we got? Have like a personal story to share with you, but I don't want to go over time because I am so conscious of it. So maybe we'll save that for another time. But it was me embracing uncertainty that led me to move away from the town that I lived for 10 years. I didn't know anyone. I moved states. I had a job, but nothing else. I had to sort out accommodation and everything. And a year later, after doing that, I met the love of my life. And we now have our little boy who's 8 months old, Hunter. And, that would never have happened if I'd stayed inside my comfort zone and what I've known. So I'm sorry that that's just like chucked in there at the end because it's actually a really important story. But I am conscious of the time. You guys have been amazing. We are a little bit over, I think 5 minutes or so, so I apologize. But does anyone have any questions before we finish up or anything that you'd like to share? I'll just give just a couple of moments. Nothing coming through, but you guys, you know where to find me. So it's Erin Beeman. We can connect on social media. If you have any questions that you didn't feel comfortable asking here in a group setting, and you want to ask privately, I'm here. I want to make sure that you're all supported. I want to say thank you so much for your time and your energy this evening. You've been amazing. And I look forward to connecting and chatting with you more. No questions, but that was great. Oh, mwah. Thank you so much for being here, gorgeous girl. You can go to sleep now. It's late for you. All right, everyone, have a beautiful evening and a beautiful day wherever you are. And I look forward to connecting with you all soon. Thank you. Take care, everyone. Bye.